Football history. History books dictate that people have had plenty of good times in the field kicking a ball around for thousands of years, but not all those games are recognized as what we consider football today. The furthest back we can track football's history is to China, as early as the 3rd century BC, where there are mentions of a game resembling football in military manuals. The Han Dynasty played a game called Tsu Chu, which involved kicking a ball through a 30 to 40 centimeters opening and into what we'd now see as a goal made of canes with a net attached to it. The ball used during these games was made from leather and filled with hair and feathers. In England, the early forms of football would be played in towns or between neighboring villages, involving an unlimited number of players on opposing teams who would clash en masse struggling to move an item, such as inflated animals' bladder to particular geographical points, such as their opponent's church, with play taking place in the open space between neighboring parishes. The game was played primarily during significant religious festivals, such as Christmas or Easter. This early form of football was rough and violent and is sometimes referred to as mob football. The rampage of these games would cause damage to the town and sometimes death to the participants. These would be among the reasons for the proclamations against the game that finally was forbidden for several centuries. But the football-like games would return to the streets of London in the 17th century. It would be forbidden again in 1835. But at this stage the game had been established in the public schools. Football was adopted by a number of public schools as a way of encouraging competitiveness and keeping youths fit. The public schools are credited for creation of modern football codes. They took football away from its mob form and turned it into an organized team sport. Each school drafted its own rules, which varied widely between different schools and were changed over time with each new intake of pupils. Two of the predominant schools where the game was often played were Rugby and Eton. At Rugby the rules included the possibility to take up the ball with the hands, and the game we today know as rugby has its origin from here. At Eton, on the other hand, the ball was played exclusively with the feet, and this game can be seen as a close predecessor of modern football. The game in rugby was called the running game, while the game in Eton was called the dribbling game. An attempt to create proper rules for the game was done at a meeting in Cambridge in 1848, but a final solution to all questions of rules was not achieved. In 1863, rugby football and association football, once the same thing, went their separate ways, and the Football Association, the first official governing body for the sport, was established. Even though the official rules of modern football were dictated in 1863 when the Football Association was established, the specifications of the ball were not standardized for another 8 years. 8 years after it was founded, the Football Association had established 50 member clubs. That's when, in 1872, the FA Cup was born. The first FA Cup final was held at Kennington Oval on March 16, 1872, and was contested between Wanderers and Royal Engineers, with Wanderers winning 1-0. And there you have it. The FA Cup is the oldest association football competition in the world and arguably the most famous domestic competition.